Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Game Terrain Engineering. A few weeks ago I posted a video for the new upcoming Star Wars Legion war game. I created some terrain, namely the Tatooine building and the shield generator bunker building. Posted those up and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback about them. I've received a lot of emails regarding the two items. I've got requests to do more Star Wars terrain, which I'm happy to do. I do plan on playing the game, so yes, there will be more Star Wars terrain in the future. And I love the comments, and I'm just glad you liked the overall terrain that I made. I was going back over some of the photos that were taken at Gen Con 50 of the Star Wars Legion demo that they gave there, and there were a lot of odds and ends pieces, and some of them I could recreate, not too difficult. And I may do that at a later time. But one of the things I noticed on the board were these little barricades. There appeared to be a variety of them in terms of the patterns on the surfaces of them. And someone posted a comment, and I've since verified it, that there are supposed to be 8 of these that come in the core set. So 8 barricades. But it also occurred to me that, if you have a sufficiently large battlefield, you might need more than 8. I'm sure that, or I'm hoping that these barricades that are being made by Fantasy Flight, maybe they'll sell them, in a pack, like you can buy a pack of 10 or something like that. But just in case, I've gone ahead and come up with a little tutorial here for creating 2 types. One will be made of foam and cardboard or chipboard, and the other one will be 3D printed. Take your pick. If you have a 3D printer, download the files in the description below. Print away. Let me show you what it looks like. There you go. Looks like that. Sides. There's some raised areas, and you can see the pattern work. The 3D printing one, obviously, in my opinion, it looks a little nicer. It's more polished. It's also, I think, hopefully to scale. But the nice thing about STL files is that if you find when you get the game that this is just a little too big, you can scale that STL file down 10%, 20%, or make it bigger, whatever you want to do. And if you are good with CAD, you could take it and you could stretch it and make it longer. So that is the 3D printed one that I'm going to show you. And here is the one made out of foam and cardboard. Now this one is definitely longer than the ones in the pictures. I still think it's roughly to scale based on what I saw at Gen Con. But this one's a little longer, maybe an inch longer. And again, it has raised areas, sides, things like that. This one was fun to make. I like making things by hand. The 3D printing, I like designing things in CAD, but after that, you just let the 3D printer do the job. Crafting by hand is still fun. It may not look as polished as the 3D printed version, but again, there's just something about making something by hand and putting it on your game table. It's enjoyable. So anyway, let's get to the videos where I've recorded showing you how to make the foam version and a little bit about how to make the 3D printed version. And at the very end of the video, I'm going to throw in a bonus. I'm going to show you some 3D printed containers that I've created. That you can print as many as you like and paint them up and stack them. They can make their own barricades as well. They all have a Star Wars look to them. Take them, the download will be below. Take them, twist them, morph them, edit them, do whatever you like with them. But hopefully they'll offer you some inspiration. So let's get to the video. To create the 2 sides of the barricade, they're triangular shaped, and each of the tips has it's been cut off or blunted. So what I've done here is create a little triangle. It's just 2 inches on each side. I am going to tape it down to my 1/2 inch foam just by putting a piece of tape on the bottom like that. And then I'm just going to tape it flat against the foam here. And this is chipboard, and it will follow. I can actually just use this by sort of cutting freehand, and it will, if I go up against the chipboard and just follow it, it's good enough. I'll go back and then I'll come back this way. Let me just go back this way. There we go. All right, there we go. All right, again, it's not got to be perfect, but there you go, a little triangle. And then all I want to do is cut off. I want to blunt the ends, so I'm just going to I'm just going to do this sort of by sight here. That's too small. Do a little bigger, right about there. Okay, just do each side. Okay, all right, there is my barricade side. Okay, now all I need to do is cut this in half. It's a 1/2 inch, so I'll just measure 1/4 inch with my ruler here. And I'll just run this through and cut it in half, or approximately in half. All right, so I'll run it through again just to get it the exact same size. All right, there we go. 2 halves of the barricade, all done. If you take a look, you'll notice that the height of the side of the barricade is 1.5 inches tall. So I just want it a little shorter than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to 1 1/4. Just measure 1 1/4. Put my like that. I'm just going to cut like this. Okay. There is my side piece. Of course, I need to cut this in half. So once again, I'll take this down to 1/4. Actually, there. And I'll just run this through. That does not look right. That is a 1/2 inch, but it's just a hair wider. So we'll just do right there. So basically it's going to be glued up against here like this, and of course the other side of here. This is a little too long, so I'm just going to shorten it a little bit. It's hard to tell from the photos what the length is, but I'm just eyeballing it. All right. Okay, there's the basic barricade. Now all I need to do is add all the detail work on it. Don't throw away your 2-inch triangle, label it, Star Wars Legion Barricade, you'll be able to use this again. But what I'm going to use it now for is creating some of the detail work. I'm going to trace 2 copies of this. I'm going to cut them out, and then what I'm going to do is shrink them just a little bit. These are going to be glued onto the ends, and again, I'm following the close-up photos of some of the terrain that was shown at Gen Con's Legion show, that they showed off. So basically, I just need to cut this down a little bit, and I'm just doing this by eyeball, cutting about 1/8 of an inch off of each side. And then cut the ends off. And if this looks good, just like that, see? I'll use this and do the same on this one. Cut 1/8 off. 1/8. 1/8. And I'll just stick it on here and try to match them up as close as I can. Okay. There we go. All right, these will be glued onto the sides here. Push them down nice and tight. You want them to sit flush as you can, so there's no gap visible between the foam and the paper or the chipboard. There you go. Now again, you can go as super detailed as you want. As you can see, there's some imperfections, but I'm not going for super high detail here. I just want something that would be usable on the tabletop. Perfection is not in the cards if you're going for speed, which is what I'm doing. All right, so there we go. So that'll be the ends of the barricade right there. Okay, so far so good. Now, after I look more closely at the front of these, I realize that there's 2 or 3 different styles of barricades that are shown in some of the photos. Some of them have rectangles, others have like curved, not complicated, but you know, some sort of geometric shapes. So I'm going to try to see what I can do there. Here is the black bombed version of the barricade that I made. I've got to give it time to dry completely, and then I'll paint it gray. But while that one's drying, I wanted to share this one with you. This is one I made in Tinkercad and 3D printed. It's a little bit shorter, as you can see, but the bases are the same size, roughly. It starts with a 2" by 2" by 2" pyramid triangle. Cut the ends off and then did some detail work in Tinkercad. And it's very light. You know, it's nice. Not as light as the foam one. Now, if you don't have access to a 3D printer, obviously you can make the foam version. But if you do have access to a 3D printer, I am going to make the files for this available for download in the description. It's basically 3 pieces: side, side, and then this rectangular piece. And they're all printed vertically. The little embellishments on the surface are thin enough that they don't need supports or anything like that. Just printed exactly as the file has. But these were real easy to make in Tinkercad. And again, I think 8 come with the basic Star Wars Legion core game set. So if you need more, you know, you can either buy them or just design your own. This one, you know, it's not exactly like the ones in the game, but in a pinch they'll do. And you can also use them for any other kind of sci-fi based war game. So I need to prime this and then get it painted along with that one, and they'll be done. Here are the 2 barricades I've made. This is the one that was made out of foam. This is the one that was 3D printed. I've given both of them a coating of slate, and now I'm going to do some dry brushing with a lighter gray. I've also 3D printed off these small containers, just random, you know, things I made on Tinkercad. Here's a pyramid-shaped one. This one's the standard Star Wars crate, you know, with the angled edging and detail work. Here's like a cooler with some panels on top. And I like this one. This one's a semi-cylinder, half-cylinder, with some ridges on the backbone, like right there. I'm going to paint these up as well and see what I can do with them, just for an extra, you know, bit of scatter terrain. I'll put the file that contains all 4 of these. These were printed as a single print job. I'll put this file in the description so you can download and print it as well. So there you go. That's how you can create a foam barricade for the Star Wars Legion game that's very similar to the ones they were showing off at Gen Con. You can also, with a 3D printer, print off the 3D printed version right here. I've given mine some dry brushing here just to give it sort of a beat up look. I'm going to try to find a tutorial or some method for creating blasts, laser blasts. I think it would be interesting to decorate these with some blaster, shots. We'll see. And then, of course, I'll be including close-up photos of all of these things at the end of the video, but I wanted to show you. This is one of the containers. I painted it black. It's got a gray band and some grills on the front. Here is the dry brushed container right there, as you can see it. Pyramid with some black inside it. And then this is the one that's not quite dry yet. I may paint the grills on top. I haven't decided that yet. But the idea is just scatter terrain. Make scatter terrain. You want to block line of sight in these types of games. You want to give things for elevation that the miniatures can climb up on for sniper shots and things like that. There hasn't been a lot of information released just yet, other than that initial release at Gen Con. There's one news blog item on the Fantasy Flight website as of today. They just haven't released any new information. But I do have a couple big Star Wars Legion terrain projects in mind. 2 of them, as a matter of fact. And I really want to get started on them. I'm hesitant, though, because I just don't know enough about the game yet to know if the terrain that I'm looking at building is going to be of any, use. If we're dealing with just rebels versus stormtroopers, there's only a handful of locales where that has occurred. So I'm hoping that we're going to hear more about different factions or different groupings of miniatures other than just rebel fighters and stormtroopers. So I'm sure they've got more. Fantasy Flight, if you're listening, please start releasing some more information. Hopefully as they get us these more details, it'll give us a better idea of what kind of terrain we should be shooting for different types of scenarios. So anyway, I hope you like that. I've got some more planned. Plenty more Star Wars terrain, little bits like this and some bigger ones planned. But I'm also going to be returning to some of the fantasy terrain stuff that I make for Frostgrave, D&D, that kind of stuff. So stick with me. I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next episode.